Kongversation.
Oh, hey, an interview with Playtonic. Okay, act normal. I'm not trying to stop an alien reptoid invasion here. No, this is a normal podcast. A normal podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Chad McCanna.
And I'm Hyle Russell.
And this week, we want to plow through our weekly due diligence because we have a very special episode. If the title and/or key art didn't clue you in, we have two very special guests on the show. But very quickly, let's talk about our Patreon.
Yes. You can support DK Vine by going to dkvine.com/Patreon. Mm-hmm. And, we offer a whole slew of rewards and, milestones we can hit as a site. And every little bit you give helps us out in the long haul. All the money goes into the site and makes DK Vine a more worthwhile enterprise for your time and ours.
That's right. We have rewards like donate $1 a month. We send you stickers in the mail. You get a physical thing for $1. $2 a month. You can join our Minecraft server where there's some fantastic work being done. We have people building Brothers Bear huts all over the landscape. And moving on up, there's a lot of really great features, YouTube features, ways to stay engaged, live streams, all of that. So please do give it a look. dkvine.com/Patreon.
Yeah, you can get the Kongversation a day early. Who wouldn't want that?
Oh, that would be brilliant.
But real quick, also check out the DK Vine forum while we're at it. dkvine.com/forum. It is kind of the central hub for the most obsessive weirdos in this fan culture. If you count yourself among them, or you would like to, join the DK Vine forum. We talk about all sorts of rare games, Playtonic games, and actually we should broach that topic, why we actually cover Yooka-Laylee, how a show called The Kongversation has kind of gotten itself into this new uncharted world.
Yeah, so very briefly, DK Vine, we've been around since 1999 if you're new to us. We're one of the oldest.
We're old.
We're very old.
So old.
16 years. We decided at the inception of the site, when Hyle and I were idiots in high school, that we wanted
as opposed to idiots now.
Right, no, we're still idiots. We wanted to follow character connections in video games. So right before our site debuted, Diddy Kong Racing came out, and that featured not only Diddy Kong, but Banjo and Conker, who subsequently went on into their own games. And obviously, Banjo-Kazooie itself has a whole slew of spin-off games via some of
pseudo-spin-offs, but we count them.
We count them. And Conker himself has showed up in places like hashtag IDARB and all sorts of...
hashtag IDARB, Chad.
I'm sorry. I mispronounced that one. So, yes, basically there's a wide net that has now been cast strictly through character connections. And while it hasn't been explicitly confirmed, we're very hopeful that Yooka-Laylee, given its pedigree, may have a familiar face or even an allusion to a familiar face at some point in the title. So we're just kind of speculatively covering the game, but we would be insane not to.
Well, given, as you said, the pedigree behind it, considering so many people worked on the Donkey Kong Country games, the Banjo-Kazooie games, Conker, so forth. I mean, it's a wide breadth of former Rare employees and some new employees who, have something new to say as well. So, yeah, obviously we would be a terrible fan site if we did not cover Yooka-Laylee, which it gives us this opportunity today.
So, without wasting any more time, we have two very special guests to introduce.
Yes, we are joined, first of all, by Andy Robinson. He is the editorial and communications director for Playtonic Games. Previously, he was a writer for Edge magazine, and in the interest of full journalistic transparency, we once watched him eat a cheeseburger at Wolfgang Puck's.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that was a good cheeseburger as well.
Yeah, you'd hope so for $30.
I don't think I think Grant Kirkhope paid for that, so happy days.
Well, I hope he got his money's worth. Well, welcome to the show, Andy. We also have with us a very special guest, Steve Mayles, who is a legendary Rare veteran and currently the character art director for Playtonic Games. And
currently crouching with his face on a keyboard.
Hello. Special and legendary. I'm loving it.
Yeah, we're busting out all of our best adjectives just for you. And of course, Steve has designed characters like the extended Kong family, Dixie Kong, Rool, not to mention Banjo and Kazooie, and most recently the title characters Yooka and Laylee.
Yeah.
He's a man of few words, is Steve. Which you'll soon find out.
We'll try to coax 4 or 5 out of him.
He speaks purely in character design. He's probably scribbling away as we speak.
Well, that's perfect for audio format then. Steve, you left Rare back in September of 2014. Could you tell us, how did you get involved with Playtonic?
That's a good one, that is. Well, I kind of knew something was going on. Knew Gav was trying to sort of arrange something after him and himself and Chris Sutherland had their redundancies from Rare early in the year. So I just kind of I just tagged along really, and the rest is history.
Excellent. So Andy, pretty much the same question. You came a little later, I think, in early 2015. How did you get involved with this group? You were the first non-Rare hire, weren't you?
Yeah. It probably wouldn't have been that far away from then either, because I came to visit the guys in December 2014. I seem to remember when it was only 5, I think. 5 guys. I kind of it's kind of a weird crossing of paths, actually, because while a lot of these guys were kind of getting made redundant or quitting Rare, I was getting made redundant from my previous writing job. So we were kind of both left in the wilderness, so to speak, trying to work out what the next step was. And I was freelancing at the time. I think I was working my notice, so. I knew Grant Kirkhope from kind of meeting him as a journalist a couple of times, and we kept in touch. And he kind of mentioned about the guys kind of getting together to do something, and they kind of needed. They were trying to work out what to do in terms of who to speak to in the media and stuff. And I know in those early days, Grant was very kind of involved in setting up Playtonic. And kind of speaking with Gav and working out what they should do, and I kind of went and met the guys as a journalist, and completely by circumstance and just it's kind of circumstances kind of working out the way they did. I ended up an employee a couple of months later. It's a funny one how that happened.
Yeah. It seems like everyone's kind of huddled together for warmth, and then a studio emerged.
It does feel quite natural that just everyone, especially the guys who came subsequently as well, right? I mean, I'm sure Steve agrees that, the fact that you had people like Kev Bayliss floating around as well, and just at the right time that he was ready to come back into games, and Dave Wise the same, who'd been out of games for a little while, ready to come back into games, and just kind of felt like the right time, the right place.
Yeah, I think also there's a lot of nostalgia for all the classic Rare games of the 90s. And
that's a good point. It's not just the people either. It's the circumstances of the gaming landscape. Obviously, we used Kickstarter. If we'd have done this 5-10 years ago, it would have been a huge risk, but being able to get the fans directly involved in financing Playtonic in our first game, that circumstance as well. I mean, Kickstarter is a very, very young platform, even now, even younger when we did it a year ago. It was circumstance that there hadn't been kind of this type of game kind of out there for a while either. So there was a lot of hunger for kind of a 3D, kind of an open world platform game.
Yeah, it was a lot of things.
When
you first started, pursuing Kickstarter as the way to really launch this thing.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think everyone would tell you that we knew that there there was interest and there was demand. We just didn't know how much. I'm sure Steve will say the same.
Oh yeah, we were pleasantly surprised with how the Kickstarter went. Yeah, Andy says we thought there'd be a demand, but the demand it really took us by surprise. Yeah.
Well, Andy, I was wondering, what's your day-to-day routine look like? Because are you more involved in the game writing itself, or more so the promotional side, dealing with the media and so forth?
The simple answer is everything.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm writing the game day to day. So kind of the past whatever 8 to 10 months where we've not really been doing so much on the promotion side, I've been head down, like helping the guys kind of on the game, doing all the writing stuff, and there's been some small kind of design input as well, where Gav and the other kind of leaders have been so kind to kind of give me my own areas to have a little bit of ownership on. So yeah, it's been fantastic to work on the game. That's my kind of definitely my 80%. But then kind of you get to a scenario where we start to ramp up the game again. Then I'm very much kind of hands-on with that as well. I mean, to give you an example, this week I've just been sat in a dark room taking screenshots, all week long. Haven't even seen what's changed in the game in the last week. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything for me. Bit of a control freak job, I guess.
Well, so Steve, are you, obviously you're in charge of the character designs. You're at least point man, I would imagine, if not doing them all yourself. How involved are you in the process of establishing personality and actually writing for those characters in addition to just the way they look?
Not at all, really. I mean, I guess you can do a little bit through animation, but we have a full-time animator now, so I'm getting to do less animation than I did initially. But that I was saying that's a good thing, maybe because my animations are bad, but no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because we just needed more people to get the project finished. So. I mean, mainly the ideas for characters come from Gav, and Andy does mainly the writing. So,
okay, so it's kind of like everyone has their own sort of not to use the term assembly line, but it's the only thing that popped into my head that everyone has.
It's a very collaborative kind of autonomous environment. I mean, that's what we've been saying from the beginning, like banging that drum. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but that's how I feel, that the group, nothing's kind of off limits, everyone will have an input on a lot of different things. Obviously, everyone will have their expertise. But say, for example, there'll be a character. Gav might say, I've got an idea for a character that is like this. Like, say, for example, Trouser was kind of scribble on a Post-it note, and he had like an idea for, he's this sort of character. He's kind of like a wheeler dealer kind of salesman who's a bit of a loser, and he's a snake that kind of tries to dress like a human, and then that will go away, and then Steve will kind of make the character. Create the character and kind of do it from concept all the way to modeling and animation, and then obviously again it goes in the game, and then I'll end up writing stuff for him and working out his weirdnesses, if that's a word, and his quirkiness and his gags and stuff. So there's an input from a lot of different sides. Like, certainly goes into making a character.
Okay,
but
so
even
it's not
stuff
quite
like
so siloed as that. It's everyone has the freedom to kind of contribute, but there are, I guess, dedicated kind of owners of each discipline.
Oh yeah, everyone has their, and that's part of the reason why this works, and that's part of the reason why part of the kind of the environment that Playtonic was kind of striving to recreate was that people have the autonomy to get on with what they're good at. I mean, and a lot of, certainly, obviously, we're 20 guys now,
and we were kind of contributors.
Oh, yeah. So we're 20 guys now, but still the bulk of those guys, out of those 20, a good 80% of those 20 worked with each other for like 10 plus years at least. Obviously all of the founding guys, the kind of founding 10, worked for each other for like 20, 25 years. So they know what they're good at. They know what their strengths are. And it's very easy to say, oh, can you go and do this? Why don't you make this character? Why don't you make this world? And they'll go and do it. Because, that's what they're great at. That's what they love doing. And that's why they, came to form Playtonic, basically, because they want to do what they love.
Now, Steve, the creative process at Playtonic, from what we just heard, is it similar to how you guys did things back in Rare, or has the process evolved since then or been refined?
Yeah, I guess it is quite similar to back in the early days when everyone on the team trusted each other to do a job, and we try to encourage people to give feedback on stuff that isn't necessarily their area of expertise, and they can either be listened to or ignored. But I think everybody knows themselves, if someone suggests something, you kind of think, oh yeah, that's a really good idea, I'm going to take that on board and do that. Or you can think, no, that's not going to work. I'm not going to do that. So people are free to make these suggestions, which is really good.
Yeah, how are the some of the newer folks? Obviously we know Karn used to he came from Rare as well, but he's relatively new and somewhat of a super fan. And I think Becky Lavender is fairly new to the industry as well. Have they stopped stammering in the presence of some of the heavy hitters? How are they integrating?
No, they're absolutely awesome.
Okay.
Karn and Becky are absolutely awesome programmers. You look at. In particular, Becky's kind of her personal products, her student projects, super impressive.
Oh, the Zelda generator, right?
Yeah. Like that's pretty much one of the big things that I think impressed kind of our directors when she kind of came to speaking to us about a job, and those guys are awesome. We spend a lot of time talking about kind of the Rare alumni. And we're still kind of a bulk of it, but the young guys bring a lot of kind of a different perspective as well, of the passion. And obviously the Rare guys have the passion, but it's a different kind of passion and enthusiasm that you can only get from kind of being an outsider to a lot of the stuff that we're inspired by.
It's kind of, our passion is kind of an old, grizzled, sort of jaded style of passion, but it's still a passion.
Well, speaking of passion, Steve, this is kind of one of those fluff piece questions. But what is the favorite character of yours that you've created over the course of your 2+ decade career?
Well, it's Yooka-Laylee, of course.
Well, nice safe answer there.
That's a proper cop out. Come on, other than Yooka-Laylee.
I don't know.
From a released game.
It's something I never really think about. I should prepare answers to questions such as these because they're bound to come up.
Well, no, that's actually interesting in and of itself. Do you ever really look back at the work that you've done with sort of in a detached sense, or are you really focused on the next thing?
Right, because I don't know if you realize it, because you're Steve Mayles. You're the guy who made characters like Rool that have kind of taken on this cultish obsession on the internet. Does that ever dawn on you that you are responsible for these iconic characters in gaming that have persevered and lasted to this day?
Not really. I mean, I always think I'm only kind of part of the process, because the majority of the process, I think, of making a good character is it has to be in a great game. Without the great game, the character is nothing. So I just see myself as like a small part of the process that goes into making a great character, really, I think.
Huh. Well, speaking of that process, you're developing in Unity, and I think this may be the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've had to create characters to work on a wide variety of hardware specs. Does that influence your design choices at all, or is everything kind of at a level at this point that you can shove a bunch of triangles at it and it'll work?
Pretty much the last thing you said, yeah. So no, it doesn't affect it in any way. Obviously, now compared to the Banjo days, in the Banjo days it was 500 polygons for a character. Now it's like it's over 10,000 sometimes. So we really have more than enough polygons to play with. So
yeah, that might be the entirety of Click Clock Wood.
Yes, probably.
Well, I was wondering, obviously E3 is coming up very, very relatively shortly. What's the stress level like right now at Playtonic? Is it like crunch time or?
I don't think it's either of those really. I don't think anyone's really stressed because everyone's. This sounds like a right cop-out answer, by the way, but everyone just really enjoys what they're doing. I mean, I remember like me and Steve and I have had conversations in the past about crunch and stuff like that. And I remember it coming up before that him kind of mentioning on, a lot of the older games that he worked on that it didn't really feel like crunch because you're, there with your friends making a game that you're really passionate about, and that kind of, it's what it feels like at the moment inside the studio. Everyone's, they're putting in the hours, working a lot of nights and getting to try and get the game done. But I don't think anyone's like sleeping under their desk or, knackered and ordering takeaways and stuff. Like it's not like kind of nasty crunch, but it's getting to the sharp end. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. That seems to happen universally in the industry around June. So, there has been. I mean, this of course assumes that you will have an E3 presence, which I don't know if you're prepared to announce.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
And that's a nice exclusive for you.
All right. Bombshell.
So obviously we've been really quiet recently. And obviously it's really tough, and it's part of the reason we wanted to come on and speak to you guys as well. Like, I always enjoy kind of listening to your shows and stuff. And we thought it was by time, that we actually got out and spoke to, to the fans and the backers and stuff. Mm-hmm. Because we know we've been quiet, but it's the bottom line is that it's very tricky to kind of balance working on the game and keeping the backers up to date. And so we're very appreciative of how patient everyone's been, but we just wanted to say that it will pay off very, very soon. And if they just wait a few more weeks, hopefully everyone will be very, very happy that we stayed quiet and kind of put our heads down and worked on the game.
Well, you've already got their money. They have no choice but to wait, but I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that.
It's a good point, I have to, because obviously I've been, I was in the media for a long, long time, so I saw this stuff on the outside, and I don't think you really, appreciate's probably the wrong word, but you don't realize just how tough it is for game studios who crowdfund a game, because you essentially, what you're doing is you're opening yourself up into two entirely different business streams, because not only do you have to make a game, you've then kind of got an audience of customers who are already, they're not potential customers. And that's a horrible word, by the way, so forgive me, customer. But they've already given you money, as you say. So we feel that we have a moral duty to look after the 80,000 people who've already kind of made our game a reality. But obviously, we also need to have a duty to get the game done and get it up to quality. And that doesn't even start to contemplate the 6,000 odd T-shirts we have to send out by hand, and the 1,000 odd game boxes we all have to sign, and it's tough work. But hopefully we come out the other end and everyone says that they're glad that they kind of funded Yooka-Laylee, and that's certainly the objective for us, is to do right by everyone.
Yeah, and it's not just putting out a game. There were also, a great deal of stretch goals during the Kickstarter that now, I don't know if those seem like boxes that you have to tick off one by one, or if they were kind of already an organic part of the scope of the game.
They were, I wouldn't say they're organic, because then they wouldn't have really been stretch goals if they were stuff we were kind of about.
Oh, good point.
I suppose some of them were I suppose some of the stuff was things that we would have liked to have done if the budget was there, like the orchestral soundtrack. And that's one of the things that I have to say that Team 17's been very, very great on. That's probably something that's gone under the radar. The announcement we made kind of last summer that we were partnering with them. And they were helping us out with a lot of kind of the nitty-gritty development stuff that you don't see as a gamer. And they've been great in kind of helping make sure that, we're aware of all of the features that we've kind of promised, and that we're on time in looking after them and stuff like that. So, we're well on top of, all of the boxes that we've kind of promised to tick in the Kickstarter.
In fact, we've already seen.
I think everything's going well. Kartos is there. He was a stretch goal. Yeah, the Minecart sections they're up and running already. I've been playing them. They're pretty cool.
Ooh. I know you can't talk about gameplay, but I'm so curious what form the Minecart sections will take, because we've seen over the years several different varieties. But I won't put you on the spot.
I'd say they're, without giving too much away, they feel like a little bit of a mix. Gavin, designer and a kind of studio head, is super passionate about that stuff. I mean, if you ever see any photos on our Instagram or our social feeds of the massive retro games collection in the studio, that's all Gavin's from home. Like he's definitely a big gamer, and I know that kind of Minecart sections is something that he's kind of quite passionate about, and he has fond memories of from a lot of games. So he's been quite hands-on with designing those, and they feel like quite different from kind of any that I can think of in games come past. He's got like some interesting ideas how to make them unique and stuff, and hopefully everyone will be quite appreciative of those.
Well, okay. Well, speaking of the rewards, so I take it you guys aren't drowning right now in T-shirts and
not yet.
Okay,
I'm drowning in emails about T-shirts.
Well, I was going to bring that up about the payoff for the rewards. Things like the Toybox that were promised in the Kickstarter. Is there any ETA on those, or
the Toybox, the $64 million question? Everyone always asks. That's that's another thing that I think we're all really appreciative of. Like it makes us kind of realize just how great fan base is already, that they've been so patient and understanding with this stuff, because they could quite easily have been quite angry that it's taken so long, but I think they know that we're trying to get it right, basically. I mean, initially we wanted it out at Christmas, but it was a different scope, and I think I said this on one of the website updates, that originally we wanted to do something quite unique and do a kind of a web browser based kind of experience, which last year that was something that was kind of quite a trendy topic in Unity engine, that you could embed it in web browsers and kind of do that kind of cool experience. So but what actually happened is towards the end of last year, a lot of web browsers removed their support for it. So obviously that on top of a lot of other things, I think we kind of had some ideas that perhaps were beyond the scope, but that was kind of the nail in the coffin. I think that was like, all right, so that's we can't actually do that. So I mean, it's another thing. I played the Toybox today. I had a look at the Toybox. It's almost there. It's almost there.
So it does exist. I think that.
It exists. I played it earlier. It's another one of those things that. I mean, we're in a great position that it's a dream position, I imagine, for a lot of game creators, that we have fans who want us to work until things are polished and great, and so that means that we can do that. We can be kind of perfectionists and carry on working on it, and it looks a lot more kind of fun than it was looking a couple of months ago, and it shouldn't be too long now, and we certainly won't be too long until we talk about when it's coming out, and hopefully it won't be too long until it actually does come out. But it's the other thing that comes with expectation and time is kind of that added pressure. And I'd reiterate that it's still everything we said despite the extra time, everything we said in the Kickstarter is still true. It's not like a traditional demo. It's like why we called it a toy box. It's a play thing. There's no objectives. There's no content from the final game, like per se, like no spoilers. It's just a fun little self-contained toy box where you can jump around with Yooka-Laylee, try some of their moves, have some fun collecting some stuff, and hopefully then give us some good feedback about, what we see as what's quite important for this type of game is the feel of the characters. But it's certainly not like the first level or anything.
Yeah, that's a massive advantage.
Sorry, say that again?
Oh, sorry. It's a huge advantage that you have this audience already built in that you can effectively crowdsource a lot of your your focus testing.
Oh yeah, and that'll be I don't know what Steve thinks, but for me, I'm quite excited about that we finally get the kind of final game out there and we start getting all this feedback, because effectively we've been working inside a vacuum for the last 8 months, and finally we can put like some of our ideas and characters and systems out there and kind of get some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've created characters and moves and stuff that we think are great and that we enjoyed, so it'll be really good to get them out there and see what everyone else thinks, really.
Do you I mean, I'm anticipating that you'll have a lot of positive feedback. That seems to be the prevailing tone.
Well, I don't know. It's the internet. It's the internet, Chad.
Yeah. It's the internet. Like it's
well, I guess if you do have any critiques, criticisms, how do you find that balance? And obviously now it's a hypothetical question, but how would you find that balance?
You need to know you need to understand your strengths. It's no secret that we are making a kind of a defiantly old school kind of game. The open world platformer. And we've made promises in our Kickstarter that we're determined to kind of live up to in terms of the core team, the kind of the leaders of the team in all of the key positions are all from the Banjo and DKC team, and a lot of people, when people put their money into this Kickstarter, they expect it to be, to feel and kind of look like a spiritual successor, just like we kind of we promised in the Kickstarter. So there will be a lot of that stuff in there, and obviously there might be some people who say like, oh, it's where's the voice acting, and where's the first person shooter sections and all this, the modern tropes. But obviously you need to stay focused and understand what type of game you're making, and we're making an open world platformer.
Right. Well, Steve, I'm going to try to coax a few more words out of you.
Good luck.
What is the favorite character you've designed thus far for Yooka-Laylee besides Yooka-Laylee? And if it's someone who hasn't been revealed yet, just be as vague as possible.
While still telling us exactly who it is.
Right. Yeah.
Have you actually designed anyone who's not Yooka-Laylee?
I like Traz. You've seen the concept of Traz, haven't you? Anyway,
yeah.
And I think the villain he turned out.
We've got a gender.
Oh, that was a bit of a slip there, wasn't it?
Well, I know that there's always been kind of a penchant for building, at least from the DKC turned Banjo team, for making the enemy's stronghold shaped like their own head. And we noticed there was a painting released way back in 2015. I think
back in 2015.
In those early Halcyon days, that it seemed in the background there was a structure that had a face embedded into it. So I don't want to assume that that's the villain.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, that's a red herring. That's Dean Wilson. Very, very talented environment artist. He does all of our concept stuff, and he did that. And it's that head, I believe, is in the game.
Okay.
But there's no significance to it.
Well, you
I know of.
successfully misdirected us. Well done, Dean.
Unless he's trying to give us clues. If the enemy is a red herring, then it's a fish.
We won't know about, a lot of these Easter eggs that these guys are sneaking in. Even we won't know about them until you guys find them. They're pretty sneaky, especially Dave Rose, another one of our environment artists. He worked on Conker's Bad Fur Day. He put a lot of stuff into, I think, Live and Reloaded, like the kind of the Edge magazine parody, the Dredge magazine, and I know he's quite well known for his Easter eggs. I think he hid a lot of he did Banjo Land in Nuts and Bolts as well, which is kind of full of little Easter eggs.
Oh yeah.
So I notice him already sneaking stuff in, and we catch him, I tell him to take it out, and he's going to be a problem.
Just once, every now and then, turn a blind eye, just for us.
Oh, the amount of suspiciously phallic-shaped pipes that have already been caught and removed.
They can't all be pterodactyl, can they?
Oh, that's the other one. So now we're all paying attention to Dave Rose, trying to stop him putting the phallic-shaped objects, and then you've got the man responsible for the pterodactyl land phallus on the other side, working away on his worlds. So I haven't even begun to think about, what phallic shapes Steve Hurst has snuck in.
What you should do is just save all the phallic shapes for the Game of the Year edition.
Well, that'd be amazing if we did get a Game of the Year edition.
It would be the.
Well, it seems like every game gets a Game of the Year edition these days, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
They are all technically of the year, so.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there is no kind of legal precedent that you could challenge them on. But I'd be interested to know just how many games. I would love to know how many games had a Game of the Year edition, like last year, for example. I bet it was dozens and dozens.
Yeah, in all likelihood.
Something we talked about on previous conversations is that most of the reveals so far are kind of inspired by nostalgia for the team's previous work. I mean, obviously, Yooka-Laylee is a throwback. It's apparent in the very name itself, but you've got Retrex, 64ist, Cardos, so
I always listen to Kongversation and hear you guys just mispronounce his name.
We honestly had such trouble with that one.
He's Rextro.
Oh, did we get it wrong again?
Yeah, so that's a clever pun. He's a dinosaur, and he's a retro dinosaur. He's Rextro.
I feel like the name
the 64ist bit. I don't even know if we even officially put that out. But yeah, no, he's Rextro.
Rextro. Okay.
Why can't I wrap my head around that name? It's
yeah, I keep.
All right.
Friendo.
It's funny. I had a look at your forums as well. There seems to be some people. A lot of people seem to be divided. There seems to be not much love for Rextro, but a lot of love for Kartos, which is funny.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I mean, Kartos is. I mean, it's a great. It's like a triple reference, so it's fantastic. But
there's all kinds of references in that name you don't even know about.
One of my favorites.
There's a very interesting anecdote behind that name.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Is that one you're able to share with us, or is that kind of an after-hours anecdote?
If you follow my Twitter feed, you would have seen a lot of people, a lot of my ex-colleagues talking about it anyway. It was kind of a win-win for me because I know Gavin suggested the name initially anyway for all the obvious pun reasons that you've already worked out. But there was also a kind of an extra reference for me because when I used to work at Future Publishing in London, so I used to share an office with Official Xbox Magazine and Official Nintendo Magazine and PC Gamer and all those guys, and there was an infamous kind of hiccup in one of the magazines one year where I think it was PSW magazine where they accidentally printed the typo for their God of War 3 cover as Kartos Returns. And it became a massive in-joke in our office. Kartos returns, like, oh, he's played that game with Kartos, and so it was an added double wink for me to get that in and have all of those old colleagues kind of come out, and it blew their mind a little bit, to be honest, that he's now a real thing.
Yeah, there was someone on our forum, I forget who it was, started giving him the subtitle God of Ore, which for that was it. Yeah, no thing. I think I put it on a caption. Oh, did you? That was you.
Of his image. Yeah, that's in the dialogue currently in the game. May or may not take that out depending on. It seems to have gone down all right, so I might keep it in now.
Yeah. This may be getting too involved into the writing more than you want to reveal at the moment. But are these characters aware that they exist in a game in kind of the way that Banjo?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's. I mean, I think our mantra internally with the kind of Banjo spiritual successor stuff is kind of look and feel like. We want to make our own game within, the genre that people want. Mm-hmm. But also on top of the kind of the team members, who the team members are, and what we promised in the Kickstarter, people kind of expect look and feel. I think so. We try and get that sort of stuff. Like, I think if people come in and they expect this to be kind of in the same universe or, in the same kind of spirit of that game, they expect a little bit of fourth wall breaking. But personally, I don't like too much of it because then it starts to feel like fan fiction. So there's some in there, but not too much.
Well, and then, so what exactly is the balance then between new, kind of fresh original content and then sort of appealing to that nostalgic drive that a lot of your established fan base has? Because the people on this team are obviously industry veterans, Steve among them, obviously. And I'm really excited to see what fresh ideas are percolating out of their brain folds. Is some of that upcoming in future promotional pushes?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's difficult for us to really get a gauge of a lot of this stuff. Like, obviously, when you're kind of working within a bubble, I think it's like I said, it's look and feel. There's not many occasions where we're like, spending too much time thinking about the Banjo games. Like, it's look and feel is the sort of important thing, just because of, I don't think we'd be doing a duty to all the guys who gave us money if it didn't kind of look and feel like a lot of those old kind of rare games that a lot of the team worked on, because of how we kind of sold it, basically, that the team had come together, this core team, to make another 3D game, and that's kind of what I think a lot of people had in their heads when they gave the money. So I think they'd be disappointed if we then went off on a massive tangent and did like a gritty cyberpunk kind of linear shooty platformer or something like. So it's look and feel has been something we've spent a lot of attention on, and obviously it really isn't that difficult. I mean, even the fact that I'm talking about it in depth makes it look like that we've spent more attention than we perhaps have, because we don't have to, because we've got Grant Kirkhope doing the music, and we've got Stephen Hurst making the worlds, and we've got Kev Bayliss and Steve Mayles making the characters. Like, this looks like, it looks and sounds, like the games that, you played on N64 in the 90s, because the same guys are doing that stuff. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's right down to the same guy who made the menus is doing the menus and like stuff like that. Like, so we don't have to obsess over it too much within that regard. So in terms of, I mean, I'll let Steve get a word in edgeways, but from what I see, in terms of like making characters,
I'm just content to sit here and listen. You're doing a good job.
But in terms of like making characters and making worlds and designing worlds and challenges and things like that, people, the guys are super talented and have done it for many, many years. They just sit down and go, what's the cool idea? Like, they're not, we're not trying to copy or imitate anything. We're making our own game within that framework. And certainly there's a lot of kind of twists that we've brought that, you know, hopefully you guys will see soon, like stuff that we promised in the Kickstarter, like the expandable worlds kind of set up, and the tonic system, which is almost like brings like kind of RPG kind of light elements, and the fact that you can within, to an extent, pick the order of which moves you learn, you know, and when you learn them, and so there's a lot of player choice in the game that perhaps you hadn't seen in this genre before.
That is really exciting to see, and that's the kind of stuff that like I'm personally just really latching on to, because I've never played a 3D platformer that has elements like that. But sort of thinking on in terms of that balance, you know, when Playtonic was sort of announced to the world, it was, even in the title of the Kickstarter, a rare revival. And I think maybe an unfortunate side effect of that is that it seems like there's a very vocal segment of the Playtonic fan base that regards it as kind of a zero-sum relationship between the success of Playtonic and Rare, and it's almost had kind of a toxifying effect a bit.
I think it's a weird one, because you know, we've still got guys joining, you know, who've recently been at Rare, you know, who still have lots of friends over there, you know, and I think like you'd have stuff like, you know, because those guys will probably like to set it up that you know, there's some kind of divide, but there'll be stuff like Gary Talbot, our animator, who joined, you know, a couple of months ago. I'm pretty sure that he went over to play football with the Rare guys, like at Manor Park, like a week ago, and it's stuff like that. Like Dean Wilson went to their Christmas party, and
you mean
like Greg Mayles? Oh yeah, Greg Mayles, Steve's brother, Greg Mayles, came to our Christmas drinks.
Never heard of him. What?
Like, you know, it's you know, these guys are. It's a people relationship. You know, companies are just logos, and you know, like
maybe very similar
stock.
logos.
It's a group of people. You know, like they're all friends and they've worked with each other for years and years. Mm-hmm. I will say that it is a weird one, because, you know, a lot, when we did the Kickstarter, you keep in mind that a lot of those choices that you look back now, you know, we'll be probably a lot more respectful. Not that we thought we won't be then, but you keep in mind, and you guys tell me whether I'm wrong. A year ago, it kind of looked like, you know, Rare were going in a different direction to what we were going. So it's kind of it felt a bit more comfortable to say, well, you know, we're going to go and we're going to do these kind of old kind of 90s style games and, you know, all that stuff. And they were kind of doing a lot more, you know, ambitious, massive stuff for kind of a mass market. And I think in the last 8 months or so, we've kind of met in the middle slightly a little bit with them kind of refocusing last year. But yeah, as you say, like that's some of the stuff that you see on forums, that's certainly not the case. And like, you know, the fact that we're going to each other's Christmas parties and stuff, like, it's pretty, you know, tells you all you need to know in terms of like the sort of relationship we have. Like, you know, Playtonic has loads of friends over there.
Well, yeah,
and you know, we're looking forward to their game, and I'm sure they're looking forward to our game.
Yeah, it's the point. You know, we've been trying to argue that because we're obviously fans of both, and we're looking forward to the both upcoming games. So it's nice to hear, and it is funny how it all just kind of happened at around the same time as when you guys first formed and announced Yooka-Laylee, and then we heard rumors of something, you know, coming from Rare, and then they revealed their kind of re-embracing of their history. So yeah, it's been interesting. And so as you said, like the overall, are you still going to be like, once Yooka-Laylee is nearing release or past release, are you going to still be playing up the nostalgia factor in like being vintage Rare, or are you going to, by that point, you're
you know, Rare is you know, their name, they're Rare, you know. We're not Rare, we're Playtonic. What we will, you know, what we have done from the start, and we have a duty now to, the 80,000 backers who spent a lot of money, is to do right by them for what we promised, which is, a kind of defiantly old school open world platformer from the core team who made Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country, which is, something that we're quite happy to say, because, those guys are working with us, and they are our founders, and they are working in our key positions. So that's what we will continue to say. But yeah, Rare's a different company. And, we're looking forward to seeing, what they're working on. And, CFE certainly looks like a super ambitious, massive game. And, we're looking forward to seeing how it comes out. I say we, Steve's on the call. His brother's like making the game. So I dare say that he could get in his car and go around there and go and play it now.
One of the things that's... Oh, sorry, go
I'd
ahead.
I'd never get past the security and the dogs, I don't think.
Oh, yeah. Chad could tell you some
hounds.
stories about that.
Yeah, I've had my own run-ins with their barbed wire fence.
And that's another good point as well, that the kind of no one, when I'm trying to emphasize the people thing that is people, it's like, Greg Mayles, his brother's on the call with us, if it's not just a friendly connection, it's a family connection. We're just I talked earlier on the call about circumstances all coming together, and this is just a collection of people wanting to work on this type of game, in this type of environment, and that's just what it is. It's just all people.
Yeah. One of the really
there you go. So, can't we all just get along, people? Can't we all just get along?
Right. There is room in the industry for two companies. One of the things that's really enticing to me about when Playtonic was announced was that there will be subsequent games. And when Seth was on the show, he sort of teased this idea that characters in Yooka-Laylee could potentially spin off into their own games, and indeed their own genres of games. And I'm wondering, obviously you mentioned earlier, the studio is 20 strong at this point. Is everyone heads down on Yooka, or are there little POCs happening here and there?
I'll let Steve answer this one, because he's not said a word in about 20 minutes.
Well, I don't want to say the wrong thing. No,
what's the wrong thing? No, we're all working on Yooka. Everyone's working on Yooka. I'll set up Steve, because he seems to need a bit of a push to talk about anything in detail. What I will say, and I'd love to know your opinion as well, is that I think the kind of group of characters that we've created is absolutely awesome. I think every kind of support character in the game, they kind of feel like they could have their own game. They're all unique and likable in different ways. I already love Rextro, and I love Trouser. Trying to think of who else we've shown. Kartos is awesome. Also, Yooka and Laylee. I think we've made a great cast of characters, and it's not difficult when you've got Steve and Kev Bayliss sat there making a man, Mark Stevenson, who did all the DKC games and Cameo and DK64 and stuff, and it's not difficult when you get those three guys together. It's it's an embarrassment of riches in terms of our character designers. It really is.
I think we have to give Gavin a lot of credit as well, because he's who mainly comes up with these characters, and in his head he's already got some kind of backstory to these characters. I know himself, he's already planning what other games these characters could be in. So a lot of credit goes to Gav for the cast of wacky characters, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the guy's got endless imagination.
So there are ideas for these characters.
Oh yeah. There are ideas. We're all working on. We're absolutely 100% working on Yooka, but we said in the Kickstarter that, and I know that this was one of Gavin's kind of visions for Playtonic when he set it up, that he felt that. I remember him saying to me that he felt that back when he worked at Rare, kind of in the 90s and stuff, that that it was a little bit of a missed opportunity that they kind of made all these great universes and they kind of didn't put them in together, like, kind of like the Marvel cinematic universe, that they didn't all kind of meet. So he didn't with us, when it came to us making a lot of characters, he didn't want to, waste that. And, there's at least some thought when you come in for, what could these guys do? Where could you see them in the future? Like, what sort of game could they be in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking.
It's not kind of arbitrary, but I mean, I guess Steve can give you a bit more insight in that about how it works.
What, back in the old Rare days? Do you mean, or?
Well, both. Say something interesting.
Yeah, I mean, back in the old days, I think the teams were so separate. I never heard any discussion ever about having characters in other games, and like you say, trying to create some kind of rare universe.
I suppose the only time it happened was Diddy Kong Racing, right? How did that happen?
Yeah.
That's kind of the underpinnings of our entire website, actually.
Yeah.
Everything.
And Kev and Kev worked on that, didn't he? And Dave Wise. I think Kev was lead artist on that thing, so Kev did all the characters. So I don't know, how did that work out, Steve?
I don't know. I wasn't on the game.
It was just an IP by that point.
So they just nicked your character Banjo and just stuck him in there.
Yeah, I mean the teams were very separate. Like I said, so you really didn't know what was going on in other teams most of the time. The first time you got to see a game, it was the first time the world got to see a game. Often, if you weren't on the team, but obviously Banjo was meant to be released in that slot in when was it? It was Christmas '97, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And Banjo was we needed an extra 6 months to finish the project, so thankfully we had another handy game to slot in there, which was Diddy Kong Racing.
Well, if I can speak for my child self, putting Banjo and Conker in Diddy Kong Racing got me immeasurably hyped for both of their solo outings. So I think you guys are onto something with this line of thought. So
yeah, it's strange. It's kind of an old school idea that games would have these character crossovers, and it's only now really being embraced by general pop culture with the likes of the Marvel universe, as you said, Andy.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see games kind of come full circle like that, and that you guys are fully embracing it.
Yeah, we want to walk before we run, right? Like, to step back a bit to your original question, everyone is 100% focused on Yooka. We can talk about which character's going to be in what game, but if this one comes out and we don't deliver, there might not be a next game. So we're just concentrating on making sure that we live up to everyone's expectations with this. I think that, you talk about what games characters could be in, et cetera, and this is probably something that Steve could talk about. I think that it probably does help make them a little bit more unique characters when you do approach them from that angle, that, what type of game could this character be in? Like, is he interesting enough to be in his own game,
Mm. Yeah, I think so. It does seem a shame in the past, like when we've created games and you finish on that game and you move on to the next one, and all those characters then, unless you do a sequel, they're basically just thrown away. Where we're not trying to do that this time. Well, we'll be trying to carry over characters into other games.
So, no guarantees on the trilogy for Trouser yet.
Who knows?
Well, when Yooka-Laylee,
I seem to think off the top of my head that Trouser might appear somewhere sooner or later.
That's cryptic, but given that you've previously told us you're capturing screenshots, maybe not so much.
Well, I'm not capturing screenshots from any game that's not ours.
Hang on. That's even more of a I didn't quite understand what you meant. Ooh. Okay. We'll have to think on that one.
Yeah. Well, let's get into rumors and hearsay. When Yooka-Laylee was first kickstarted, the Wii U was still very much alive and kicking. But there have been rumors to the effect that the successor may be on its way relatively shortly. How does that affect the Nintendo release, or does it at all? Or
no,
are
it
you
doesn't.
not
It
allowed to
doesn't
say?
at all. It doesn't at all. It come as no surprise to you when I say that we had a huge kind of response from Nintendo fans for the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course. Yeah.
So there are a lot of Nintendo fans who kind of backed the project and are expecting it to come out on Wii U, and the Wii U version is kind of up and running in the studio, and that's where it will be going.
Excellent.
So there you go. You got one big Wii U game left.
One of the advantages of also developing on something that's sort of platform agnostic like Unity is that I would imagine it would be crazy if there was not an NX plugin at some point. So you probably would have that option in the future.
Well, you'd imagine so, I guess. I mean, anything that we say is kind of speculation.
Of course.
We're working on Wii U.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, what is, obviously the studio is, growing and growing. I don't know if there are any signs of stopping. You're 20 strong now, plus the 3 musicians and Phil Tossell contributing. What is that kind of balance between filling out the rosters with permanent employees versus hiring, contributors for a briefer spell?
Well, I'd imagine it's circumstance, really. I mean, without putting words into Gavin's mouth, he's the studio head. I mean, he has the vision, he builds the team, and he's built a great team. My kind of outside opinion on that would be, obviously Kevin Bayliss was a contributor for kind of the early months of the project, and it was just a case of the fact that he lives quite far away. He'd kind of moved further up north, and it was a case of if you can come and join us full time, then you're very welcome to. We don't. I think a lot of people see from outside that we have a roster of hugely talented guys, like hugely talented veterans, and also some hugely talented young guys. And we're not just we haven't kind of got the work experience kids working on the game. We've got some absolutely fantastic creatives working on our game, and we feel very privileged that to have them. And if anyone's contributing, it's probably because there's a previous relationship there, because I know certainly Phil Tossell, they would have worked with a lot of the guys would have worked with for many years, and I've certainly been told that been heard nothing but amazing things about how well he's regarded, and I've seen some of his work and he's fantastic, and I think he lives abroad. So it's a case of like we obviously needed someone to help out there, and he was available. And in terms of other contributors, it's great to have people like Ed Bryan, because of the connection. He's kind of one of the few missing puzzle pieces of the kind of core banjo team. That
no pun intended.
To have him, to have him kind of pitch in with a character is fantastic. As we put in, his character's great as well. His character's in the game.
Oh yeah, he's already done it then, huh?
Yeah, so it's already done. Yeah. So it's great. So you see, it's kind of different reasons there. Like if we need someone to help out, and it's like who's got a friend who's available to do work, then great. But also there's certain people in for the Kickstarter contributing stuff, because it's just great to have them involved. David Wise and Grant Kirkhope, even though they're contributors, they might as well be full-time employees. Grant's doing a hell of a lot of work for us. I speak to him pretty much on a daily basis. We were contemplating getting him on this call, actually. He's doing a hell of a lot of work for Yooka, and Dave's like always around. He's kind of doing a lot of the nitty gritty day-to-day stuff. So Yeah, I don't know if I went off on a tangent there. I don't know if you answered your question, but hopefully I gave you some color.
No, you did.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Grant and Dave. They're known for having their own very, very distinct styles.
Yeah, this is the question that's asked every time.
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, how do you have them in the same game without it just their works overpowering one another? And
the easy answer is it's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If our biggest concern is how do we balance Dave Wise and Grant Kirkhope, I'm delighted to have that problem keeping me up all night.
And Steve Burke,
because,
for that matter.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys have heard some of their stuff that we put out, and it's fantastic. We've thought about that, obviously, and you'll see, their work crop up in, appropriate parts of the game. Probably the easiest thing to say.
Fair enough. Well, I think that the same question can be extended to the art, and maybe Steve, this is one you could weigh in on. Do you find yourself having to adjust or coach some of the other artists so that the whole game has a consistent design?
No, not at all. I think it's just something that's naturally come together. I think you could probably tell, looking at the individual characters, that a certain person has done them. But that's I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that makes the character more individual. I think if I did every character, maybe the characters would get boring in the end. And each artist does bring something slightly different to the table in terms of creation. So it's just no problem. It's running really smoothly.
I think that's quite a nice quirk as well, that you don't really see that in games these days, that they're so kind of overmanaged that you kind of have one person deciding the direction of this and that. That I think it's quite nice to see a bit of kind of authorship, that it probably is very possible that you could play a game and go, oh, that's clearly a Kev Bayliss character, and that's clearly a Steve Mayles character, a Mark Stevenson character. I mean, if you look at the ones that are out there at the moment, Kartos is Kev, Trouser is you, Steve, and Rextro is Mark.
Yeah.
So if you look at the kind of their styles, they do look at well, I think I can tell, and I'm sure Steve can tell. You look at me, go, that's a character.
I mean, there's never a concept that gets done and it's like, oh my god, it's a million miles away from what we're expecting. Do it again, sort of thing. It's never like that. It's maybe just a slight tweak here and there, and it's it's good to go. I think it's very much like the old days in that respect. In that there's very little wasted work, because we all know what we're doing. We all know the style of game so well, and we just get on with it.
Now, as far as the staffing goes, do you see consistent additions to the staff, or have you guys pretty much reached your peak levels at the moment for the duration of Yooka-Laylee?
That's probably one of the few that we can't answer. I mean, we're the grunts.
That's more of a Gav question.
Who knows? We might come in tomorrow and Gav might have hired another 20 people.
It was always meant to be an N64 size team, wasn't it? Which was what you might say between 15 and 20. So maybe that suggests.
I think it definitely. We feel like we're there. I don't know if you agree, Steve.
I think so. I mean, I think we'll always end up with, like we've got on this project, contributors that maybe for certain reasons they couldn't join us full time anyway, but they're the sort of people that we'll probably always want to call on for certain projects, I think.
Well,
and who knows? Some of them might enjoy it so much that they might end up joining.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, yeah. I once the studio, gets its post Yooka legs, I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what doors open there and how you guys fill them. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the many gamers that are eagerly awaiting the next word on Yooka-Laylee?
Well, I'd certainly like to say, thank you very much for your support. Our fan base has been absolutely incredible from day one. From the first minute of the Kickstarter, where we're all sat around the monitors like gobsmacked, basically. Right through to now, where it's still, even though, you know, we know there's not been much to show, and we've not kind of been your typical Kickstarter where we show every polygon go in. They've been super supportive and super understanding about what we're trying to do, that we're trying to, you know, be perfectionists and live up to expectations, and also hopefully bring a little bit of drama back into game development, which is something that I believe is special about games, that you know, another trait of kind of the old school, bringing a little bit of drama back of people. I think the fans quite like to see, you know, a game revealed when it's almost there, and, you know, to be surprised, and you know, that's why we play games, right? So that we can kind of be surprised and delighted, and hopefully it won't be too long now until, you know, we get to surprise and delight our fans, and hopefully they'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that the Toybox will be spoiler free. That's so great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of the feedback that we got initially, that you know, people didn't want to just play a chunk of the game, and it's you know, hopefully it's well received. Obviously, it's a tricky one because not many people do stuff like that anymore, like self-contained, like little play things. And we have taken a little bit longer than we expected to work on it. But hopefully, you know, kind of the fans appreciate the opportunity to get a feel for the game, and then tell us, you know, what they think about the mechanics, you know, without just giving them a chunk of kind of like stuff from the final release.
Well, Steve, any final thoughts? I know we didn't you weren't able to speak to too much of this, unfortunately, but we really do appreciate your time with us.
I'd just like to echo what Andy said, really. I mean, we're eternally grateful to the backers and the fans for all the support and goodwill, and it's those people that are enabling us to make Yooka-Laylee the game we always knew it could be. Yeah.
Well, this is one of those, you know, embarrassing Wayne and Garth we're not worthy moments, but thank you for everything you've done for the long list of games that our site covers. It's really been an inspiration to us and a lot of our listeners.
Oh, no,
he wouldn't be your hero anymore if you started working with him.
Yeah, and thanks to you guys for all your enthusiasm over the years as well.
No, it's our pleasure. That's not just a placation. It genuinely is.
Yeah. I'm right now. I'm staring at my desk, and I've got so many of your characters, Steve, in toy form on my desk. So I
can't believe he still didn't tell you who his favourite character is.
Oh God!
You must have one, Steve. I mean, everyone goes on about Rool's like a big cult character that always comes up. You must have a little special spot for him.
He never bloody got in Smash Brothers, though, did he?
No.
Yeah, but you were really hoping. Just the fact that you were really hoping shows that you've got a little soft spot for him.
I think Dixie turned out really well. I think that was more to do with her abilities as well, because I gave her the big ponytail and said, that we can use that for loads of moves. So she did have a very different feel to her than Diddy. So in that game, I think DKC2, she's probably one of my favourites, I think.
Yeah,
is that a good enough?
It definitely is. That's pretty universal, I'd say. In fact, I mean, I can't escape that game. On my way home from work this evening, I was playing DKC2 on my DS on the subway. It's just that one never escapes you. And yeah, you're right. The characters are so crucial to that. So yeah, that's a fantastic answer.
I often still listen to the soundtrack sometimes when I'm working, the DKC2 soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the soundtrack's amazing.
Real classic, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I know it's extremely late. We've taken you into the wee hours UK time, so thank you so much for taking the time.
No, it's been great fun. And we should do it again after the game's out there.
Oh, absolutely, and hopefully we'll get to meet up with you at E3.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Well,
all right.
Thanks so much, guys. And by the way, you can find both Andy and Steve on Twitter. Andy, yours is, I think, at Andy Playtonic, and Steve, you are at Winky Steve.
Indeed, yes, that's right.
So he's made a mistake, hasn't got Playtonic in the username.
He's got the most followers, eh? Yeah.
No, so I'm not going through. I haven't got like a load of like gold mine unreleased concept art in my lofts to go and get.
I've about ran out now, anyways.
Yeah, if you notice that Steve started to just go back to the beginning now, he's gone full circle.
I haven't done that yet.
The memory on the internet is very short. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Well, Steve and I will be out at E3 actually. With Grant again. So yeah, we should hook up.
Let's
and
make it
we'll. I'd love to show you the game and get your thoughts and stuff and hear your opinions. Because I say we've kind of been making it in a vacuum, so it's really really super exciting. Genuinely to show it to people now and kind of hear some of the feedback. Hopefully everyone kind of likes it.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a date. We'll definitely see you there.
Cool. Cheers, guys. I guess we should go to bed.
Yep. Sleep well.
All right. Yeah. Thanks again.
Thanks. All the best.
Bye-bye.
This has been a File 2 production.
¡Qué rico!